So a year ago, there was an article in all the papers by I'm going to read it, the name, Professor Susan Jebb, who's the chairwoman of the Food Standards Agency. And she stated that we should stop bringing cake into the office because it's as bad as passive smoking. And there was a big uproar about it because people were like, how can you compare cake to passive smoking? And I kind of thought the same. But when I kind of read more into the article, what she was saying is that, cake generally is not the most healthiest of foods, it's full of fat, sugar, etc. And bringing in cake is you're kind of encouraging people to consume those sugary, fatty goods. And it's not a good thing, especially if you're somebody who's trying to be a bit healthier. What she said is that, if she's in the office and there's cake, she cannot help but have to have a slice of that cake. It almost feels like unintentional pressure. The cake is there, other people are having slices of this cake, and you kind of feel like you want to resist, and then you end up not resisting. Now, I have a couple of thoughts about this. Now, my thoughts are based on my experience because, as you may know or may not know, I do have a day job. Now, pre-COVID, because I think the pre-COVID and post-COVID does make a difference in terms of this whole bringing cake into the office. So pre-COVID, if it was your birthday, sometimes people would bring in cake. You were never obliged to. I mean, back then I kind of did because I still had my sort of caking thing going on, so I would bring in cake, but you were never obliged to. I mean, a lot of the times you didn't even know, sometimes you didn't even know it was somebody's birthday. And so there was never any obligation, so I wouldn't say there was always loads of cake around. But in our office pre-COVID, definitely twice a year there would be cake. So that would be, no, three times. No, twice a year there would definitely be cake. So the one time would be the Macmillan coffee morning, which we used to do. And people would either make their cake and bring it in, or they would buy store-bought cake and bring it in, obviously sell it for charity. And we also used to have a thing at Christmas where everybody would bring in a dish around Christmas time. And obviously I would end up bringing up cake. So at least twice a year, there would definitely be cake. Another time where there might be cake is if somebody was leaving the company, but that wasn't always the case. I would say that was least likely to happen. But now with post-COVID, because at the moment we're still working a kind of hybrid approach at work. So that means, for example, I go into the office 3 days a week and the other 2 days I work from home. You're not seeing your colleagues every day because people go in at different times. So the whole cake in the office thing is not as prevalent as it was, I feel. It's not to say that sometimes you're in there at the kitchen and you see cake. Sometimes I bring in cake. Some of the cakes that I taste test, obviously I don't eat it all, so I bring it into the office and just leave it in the kitchen. But it's definitely not as prevalent as it was pre-COVID because of this hybrid way of working. So I suppose in a way it's a bit healthier, isn't it, in that there's not loads of cake around. What I would say though is if you do bring in cake, you could always bring in some fruit as well, because there are people who don't like cake. Yes, I know they do exist, but bring in some fruit as well to balance it, so that people have more of a choice. That's another way of looking at it. But me in general, I always feel that it's always about balance. Have your cake, don't have it every day. I know for some people's willpower is stronger than others, so I do appreciate the fact that you could be tempted if you see cake a lot. But maybe it might be a case of just always having a healthier option nearby if you want. So always have some fruit or something so that you don't feel as tempted, if that's your thing and that you do not want to eat cake. But yeah, so that's just my general thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments about what you think about this whole not bringing cake into the office at all. Do you bring cake into the office regularly? Is cake there when it's people's birthdays? Do people bring in cake? But just let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, cake lovers.